The crash didn't come with a warning. Just 1 second of blinking lights, then pain, fire, and silence. Logan opened his eyes to chaos. Smoke curled through shattered bulkheads. Gravity felt tilted, and something was dripping on his face. Blood or coolant, he wasn't sure. He groaned and rolled onto his side, pain slicing up his ribs. The Artemis 8, his diplomatic escort ship, was now twisted metal and scorched alloy. He spat dust and tried to focus. The air was breathable, just barely. The emergency shield had sealed part of the cabin, a small mercy. But he wasn't alone. There, lying half-buried under a collapsed strut, was a figure 3 times his size. Armor cracked, blue skin streaked with soot, limbs sprawled like a downed war statue. Female. Alien. Definitely not human. Logan crawled toward her, instincts kicking in. Her chest rose faintly. Alive. He dug out the medkit with trembling hands and scanned her with the universal probe. Rib fracture. Torn thigh muscle. Internal bleeding. Vitals. Unstable. Okay, let's not die today, mystery lady. He injected a coagulant and applied sealant spray. Her body twitched. A low growl rumbled from her chest. Logan froze. Then slowly her eyes opened. Violet, sharp and utterly unreadable. She stared at him like he might be a threat. Or prey. He raised both hands. Hi, human, Logan. Not trying to kill you. Yet. Her jaw tightened. Where is this? Crash site. Unknown planet. Definitely no cell service. He gestured around. We just won worst landing of the year. She tried to sit up. Failed. A hiss of pain escaped her lips. Don't, he said gently. You'll rip it open again. You patched me? I tried. No warranty, though. She snorted, a sound halfway between a laugh and a warning. You're an engineer. And you're what? A linebacker from hell? I am Kavara, she said. Commander. Velcare Honor Guard. Logan blinked. Well, that explains the attitude. The wind outside howled, dry and sharp. He glanced through the broken hull. Jagged cliffs. Crimson sky. No smoke. No rescue ships. They were alone. Looks like we're stranded. Kavara didn't respond. She just closed her eyes and said, We build shelter. Yes, ma'am. Logan dragged himself through the wreckage, gathering what little was still intact, half-charged power cells, some hull panels, and a knife wedged into a beam. He pried it loose and looked back. Kavara had propped herself up, breathing hard, watching him like a predator deciding whether to keep her prey alive. Do you always stare at people like you're selecting a kill target? He muttered. I'm deciding, she said plainly, if you're worth keeping alive. He raised an eyebrow. How about a trade? I keep you alive and you don't murder me in my sleep. Sound fair? She was silent for a moment. Then, tentatively acceptable. Logan smirked. I like how you threaten and agree at the same time. He started assembling something resembling a windbreak from bent metal and snapped cables. Kavara watched in silence, analyzing every move. As the sun dipped low and shadows lengthened, Logan stepped back from the shelter and wiped his forehead. It's ugly, but it'll hold. Kavara crawled closer, inspecting. Primitive, she said, but functional. He grinned, dangerously close to a compliment. You don't seem entirely useless. I'll take it. They sat in silence, watching twin moons rise over the jagged horizon. We will survive, she said softly. Logan looked at her. Yeah, he replied. We will. By the second day, Logan had already decided that being stranded with a 13-foot alien warrior was both the worst and the most fascinating experience of his life. He was trying to jury-rig a heat emitter when Kavara barked, Your construction is inefficient. Logan didn't look up. So is being impaled by a broken rib, but we're both doing our best. Kavara tilted her head, the movement slow, reptilian. Your humor is persistent. That's just how I deal with certain death, he replied, tightening a bolt. Laugh now, panic later. She didn't laugh. Of course not. She hadn't even smiled. Kavara treated every breath like a military maneuver, sharp, calculated, and mostly directed at reminding him how fragile he was compared to her. Still, she hadn't killed him. Yet. So, progress. They sat across from each other inside the makeshift shelter. Logan munched a protein bar. Kavara sniffed it like it might be poisonous. She eventually settled for one of the dried lizards she'd caught earlier, tearing it apart with teeth that could probably shred steel. You people eat this by choice? Logan asked. It is meat. It is fuel. That is enough. You ever heard of seasoning? She stared at him. Warriors do not season. He chewed slower. You know, for someone who could break me in half, you're surprisingly uptight. I am not tied up. That's not... Never mind. Their conversations always walked a tightrope between language barrier and existential dread. Kavara was proud, blunt, and deeply Velcare in every syllable. She viewed everything through the lens of combat hierarchy and survival instinct. Logan, meanwhile, was sarcasm incarnate, a defense mechanism honed through years of disappointing supervisors and surviving crash simulations. And now he was stuck with her. I don't understand you, she said suddenly. That's fair. I barely understand me either. I mean, why you remain here? I am volatile, unstable. Look, you didn't ask for this. Neither did I. But abandoning you didn't exactly feel heroic. Kavara blinked. Heroic? Logan shrugged. It's a human thing. Some of us are stupid like that. She looked at him for a long time, then asked, Is that why you keep talking? Because you are afraid of silence? I talk because you don't. Someone's got to carry the emotional weight around here. I do not fear silence. Number. But I think you fear being seen. That earned him a long, unreadable look. Outside, wind screamed across the canyon, sharp as razors. The shelter creaked under pressure, but Logan's quick repairs held. For now. He glanced at her again. She sat ramrod straight, arms folded like she might bolt at any second. There was sweat on her brow. Strange, considering the cool air. You okay? I am fine. You're sweating. My body is adjusting. To what? No answer. Kavara. Her jaw flexed. It is the cycle. He paused. The heat thing? She nodded once. And it's getting worse? Another nod. Should I be scared? She looked at him. If I lose control? Yes. Logan stared at her for a second, then took a breath. Then we make sure you don't. You cannot stop it. I can try. Her fists clenched. This is not your problem. It kind of is. I'm the only other living thing within 100 miles. You are also fragile. Thanks for the reminder. She stood suddenly, towering above him. I do not want to harm you. Then don't. It is not so simple. Nothing ever is. They stood there, tension thick in the air, her body trembling slightly, his heart pounding louder than it should. Then she exhaled. You speak too much. And yet you keep listening. A beat. Then softly. Yes. The sun, or whatever passed for it, was barely rising over the jagged cliffs when Kavara woke Logan with a solid kick to the boot. He groaned. If this is alien foreplay, I'm filing a complaint. Quiet. Something's moving near the ridge. That got his attention. They crouched at the edge of the shelter, Logan squinting into the dusty horizon. Something four-legged skittered across a ridge, low to the ground, fast and spiked. Friend of yours? He muttered. It's hunting. For us? For me. That's a Drakethorn scout. If one's here, more will come. Well, fantastic, Logan muttered. I was worried we'd get bored today. Kavara stood, already reaching for her blade. We need weapons. Real ones, Logan pointed at the wreck. What do you call that pile of junk over there? A buffet? Her eyes narrowed. Can you make something from it? Give me 2 hours and a power cell, maybe some duct tape. Oh, and a miracle. Kavara didn't blink. Then start. They split up. Kavara limped toward the edge of the crash site, scanning for movement, while Logan dove into a tangle of wires and scorched alloy. He worked fast, salvaging metal rods, wiring up a discharge core, wrapping the grip in cloth torn from the med pack. 2 hours later, he handed Kavara a crude spear, tip glowing faint blue. It's ugly, she said. So am I, but I still work. She tested the weight, nodded once. Another one? She asked. He tossed her the second. Shock capacitor's low, but it'll drop a mid-sized predator. She gave him a look. Not of condescension this time. Approval. They waited near the rocks, silent, focused. When the Drakethorn returned, it came fast, too fast, a blur of armored limbs and snarling teeth. Kavara stepped forward instinctively, but her leg buckled. Logan didn't think. He moved. He lunged, ramming the spear into the beast's flank just as it pounced. Electricity arced through its body. It shrieked, thrashed, then collapsed, smoking. Logan blinked. Holy hell, that worked. Kavara stared at him, stunned. You, she began. I stabbed it. I was there. I saw. They stood over the fallen creature. It was still twitching. You kill it, Logan said, nudging it with his boot. This is your planet now. Kavara stepped forward, blade raised. But then she stopped. You risked yourself, she said quietly. Well, I figured if I let you get eaten, I'd have to fight these things alone. And I don't even like camping. Kavara was silent. Then softly, thank you. Logan blinked. What? She met his eyes. Thank you. For the first time since the crash, there was no sharpness in her voice. No challenge. Just sincerity. He grinned. Wow, I didn't think you knew that word. I know many things, she replied, including when someone earns my respect. You have a weird way of showing it. She looked at him for a beat. You work well under pressure. And you're less terrifying when you're bleeding less. That earned him the faintest curl of her lips. They dragged the creature back to camp together, her limping, him panting, both covered in dust and adrenaline. They didn't talk much after that. They didn't have to. Something had shifted. Not survival, not duty, trust. The storm came out of nowhere. 1 minute the sky was a dry smear of crimson and gold, then clouds rolled in like a black tidal wave. Wind howled through the canyon, slamming into their shelter like fists. Logan barely managed to seal the heat panels before the first sheet of rain hit, thick, acidic, sizzling against metal. This planet doesn't believe in gentle weather, he muttered, strapping down supplies while Kavara reinforced the walls. I told you, she growled, voice strained as she jammed a support beam into place. Velcare colonists call this region the Maw. Yeah? I call it terrible real estate. Lightning cracked across the sky, so bright it blinded him for a second. Thunder followed like a punch to the chest. Kavara stumbled, caught herself on the wall. Her leg was still healing, barely. She hadn't let it slow her down, but Logan could tell. She was burning out. Get inside, he yelled over the storm. I'm fine. You're limping and soaked. That's not fine. She shot him a look, half fury, half something else. But she relented, ducking into the cramped shelter. Logan followed, pulling the panel shut behind them. Inside, the space shrank instantly. 2 bodies, 1 tiny space, 1 hell of a storm outside. They sat in silence for a moment, soaked, breathing hard. Then she said it. My real name isn't Kavara. Logan blinked. Okay. She looked away, jaw tight. It is a designation, a war title, one given when I was claimed by the honor guard. So what's your name? She hesitated. Velcaria. He tried it. Velcaria. That's beautiful. I hated it, she said quietly. Until recently. Logan didn't push. Something in her tone said this was a crack in the armor she hadn't intended, but once it opened, it poured. When I was young, my bloodline was deemed unworthy. No house, no command. The guard took me, trained me, cut out what didn't serve. Cut out? Emotion, attachment, identity. They made us weapons. Logan exhaled. I've worked for corporations. Close enough. That earned a half snort, the closest thing he'd ever gotten to a laugh from her. Why tell me now? He asked. Because you keep calling me a person, she said, eyes gleaming in the low light. And I'm starting to believe you. Outside, the storm screamed louder. Then came the sound, metal buckling. They both moved at once. The west wall, pinned by scavenged plating, was tearing away, wind clawing at the edges. If it gave, the whole shelter would collapse. Hold it! Logan shouted, throwing his weight against the straining frame. Kavara joined him. Her injured leg gave slightly, but she gritted her teeth and pushed harder. Sparks flew as rivets popped loose. The structure groaned. They couldn't hold it. Back brace, she yelled. What brace? The one near the engine coil. Logan scrambled, slipping on the wet floor, grabbing the length of reinforced alloy. He rammed it into place just as the wall gave a final shriek and held, panting, soaked, silent. They slid to the floor together, backs against the patched wall, rain pounding just beyond. Kavara broke the silence. You should have let me do it alone. And let you die dramatically? No thanks. I would have held. No, you would have broken. You're strong, Velcaria. not invincible. She looked at him, really looked, and this time, she didn't look away. "I'm not used to someone standing beside me," she said. "Well, get used to it." A long pause. Then she leaned just slightly, her shoulder brushing his. "You're infuriating. I get that a lot. But you don't run." He smiled. "Nope. Even when I warn you. Especially then." Outside, the storm began to ease. Inside, something else began to settle. Not just safety, connection. They came at dawn. No warning, no noise. Just the faint shimmer of movement beyond the canyon ridge. And then, the glint of weapons. Logan was pouring water into the filter when Kavara froze, eyes narrowing. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. He followed her gaze and saw them. 3 figures in matte armor, moving like ghosts through dust. "Visitors?" he asked dryly. "Not friendly ones." She grabbed her blade. Logan reached for the shock spear, the one with the cracked cell but decent reach. "They're armed," she said. "Let's assume they're not here to borrow sugar." The first shot came a heartbeat later, silent, clean, energy-based. It scorched the rock a foot from Logan's head. He ducked as Kavara moved in a blur, grabbing him and dragging him behind the shelter wall. "Traitors don't shoot first," she muttered. "These are mercs. Bounty class. They here for you?" She didn't answer, which was an answer. "They want to take me alive," she said after a beat, "which means they'll try to kill you." "Charming." Logan scanned the area. 3 hostiles, one coming around the left, one flanking high, one still at the ridge. "We split them," he said. "Separate angles force a mistake." Kavara didn't argue. She trusted him now. And he trusted her. They moved like clockwork. Logan popped up from cover and hurled a broken panel like a decoy. The left merc fired, exposing his position. Kavara was already moving. She didn't charge, she flowed, low and brutal. Her blade found the first target's shoulder. The man screamed as she kicked him into the rocks. Logan took the high ground, literally. He scrambled up a ledge, gritting his teeth as dust stung his eyes. The sniper fired again, missed. Logan flung his spear. It struck metal, not flesh, but it forced the shooter to duck. That was all the opening Kavara needed. She climbed like a predator, blade glinting, breath steady. Logan watched her fight, fluid, devastating, precise. Like she was born for this. Maybe she was. The third merc finally moved, realizing he was alone. Logan was already circling behind. He grabbed a loose coil from the shelter's power grid and rewired it mid-run, jury-rigging a short burst trap. The merc stepped on it. Arcs of power exploded. He crumpled. For a moment, there was only silence. Then Kavara stood over the final merc, breathing heavy, blade dripping. Her body trembled, not from exertion, from restraint. "Valkyria," Logan said, approaching slowly. "It's over." "They followed my signal," she said through clenched teeth. "I tried to bury it. I wasn't fast enough. You saved us. I endangered us. You protected me. Again." She turned to him, face unreadable. Her hair clung to her cheeks, dust mixing with sweat. Her eyes, those impossible violet eyes, locked on his. "I'm tired of being a weapon," she said. "I'm tired of running." He stepped closer. "Then stop." Her voice cracked. "I don't know how. Then we figure it out together." She stared at him. Slowly, carefully, she dropped the blade. "I should have gone with them. Saved you the risk." "If you had," he said, "I'd have followed you." Her breath caught. "I mean it." "Why?" "Because you matter. Because I'm not done standing beside you yet." She closed the distance between them, slowly, deliberately, until her forehead rested against his. "You're not afraid of me anymore." "I never was." She let out a breath, a soft sound, almost relief. Then her arms wrapped around him, strong, tight, but not crushing. Safe. And for the first time, Logan didn't feel like a stray survivor fixing broken things. He felt like a man who'd finally found something worth protecting. The fire crackled low, casting soft shadows against the shelter's curved walls. Outside, the canyon slept. The wind had died down. No more mercs. No more battles. Just them. Logan stirred the pot of lizard stew, trying not to glance at her too often. Kavara sat across from him, silent as always, but something was different. Her shoulders were relaxed. Her eyes, softer. He handed her a bowl. She accepted it without a word, their fingers brushing. Barely a second. But it lingered in his mind. "I added salt," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "You found salt?" "Technically, I scraped mineral deposits from the backup condenser. So, not salt. Grit with flavor. Same thing." She tasted it, chewed slowly, then nodded. "Acceptable." He grinned. "I live to serve." She watched him for a moment, then said, "You never asked me why I stayed." Logan blinked. "Didn't want to push. You should've." "Okay. Why did you stay?" Her gaze didn't waver. "Because you didn't leave." The air shifted. Logan set his bowl down. Kavara did the same. Silence stretched between them, but it wasn't empty. It was full. Of the things unsaid, of the nights shared, of the danger faced side by side, of breathless moments where one shielded the other, not out of duty, but choice. He moved first. Just a little. She met him halfway. Their lips didn't crash. They brushed, soft, hesitant, the barest press of warmth on warmth. Kavara didn't flinch. She leaned in, let him in. Her hand cupped the back of his neck, fingers rough from years of battle. His hand found her waist, fingers splayed against firm, heated muscle. "You sure?" he murmured. "I wouldn't be here if I wasn't." Another kiss, deeper now, fuller. Her breath caught. His heart thundered. She was taller, stronger, carved from storm and steel. But in that moment, she melted under his touch. They didn't rush. Armor came off in pieces, not because it was a struggle, but because it was a ritual. A removal of walls, of roles, of fear. She sat before him, bare blue skin glowing in the firelight, marked with scars that told 100 stories. Logan didn't stare. He admired. "You're beautiful," he whispered. "You're strange," she replied. "Works both ways." He let her set the pace. Let her come closer. Let her guide his hands across skin that shivered under every touch. She wasn't gentle. She didn't know how. But she was present. And he made it enough. They moved together like the last two people in the galaxy. Not out of desperation. Out of something more. Out of every battle they survived. Every laugh shared. Every wound tended. When it ended, they didn't speak. They didn't need to. She lay curled against him, her breathing even, eyes closed. He stroked her arm slowly, memorizing every line of her. "You okay?" he asked quietly. She nodded. Then, after a beat, she whispered, "That was the first time I wanted something for myself." He kissed her hair. "Glad it was me." 3 days after the ambush, Logan found the signal by accident. He was repairing the solar array, again, when his scanner chirped a faint pulse, something buried in the rock beyond the eastern ridge. Not energy, not natural, patterned. "Kavara," he called, already climbing the slope. "You might want to see this." She followed without question. That was new. No arguments, no skepticism. Just trust. When they reached the source, it was barely visible, a metallic outline embedded in the cliffside, half swallowed by stone and time. "Definitely artificial," Logan muttered, brushing away layers of dirt. Kavara crouched beside him. "This shape, it's ancient Velcor. You recognize it? It's older than the Guard, older than the Empire. These were relics from the first expansions, before records. Well, good news. It's humming." He pressed a panel. The scanner flared. A deep vibration rumbled under their feet. Something shifted. The rock cracked open with a sharp hiss, revealing a narrow stairway that led underground. Kavara's hand went to her weapon. Could be a trap. Could be a way out. They descended together. The passage was cold, dry. Symbols lined the walls, spirals, glyphs, star maps. Kavara touched them like memories. "It's not just tech," she whispered. "It's heritage." They reached a chamber, a circular room glowing faint blue. In the center, a console, long dead until Logan touched it. It lit up. A soft chime echoed. Logan blinked. "Okay, didn't expect that." Kavara stepped beside him. "It recognizes you. Me? Your human biometrics. It must be hybrid-coded, designed to interface with species outside Velcor. That or I'm just universally charming." She gave him a look. "Try not to break it." Logan's fingers danced over symbols he barely understood. One lit up, then another, then all of them. The console began to project, a 3D star map with a blinking beacon pulsing at its edge. "It's a relay," Logan said. "A broadcast node." Kavara inhaled sharply. "An emergency frequency. Buried this deep, it could bypass planetary interference." "A distress call." He pressed the last key. The chamber filled with a soft, rising tone, ancient tech coming back to life. "Signal. Sent." A long silence followed. Logan exhaled slowly. "Now we wait." Kavara stood beside him, gaze fixed on the map. "If someone's out there, they'll hear us." He glanced at her. "And if no one does?" Her jaw tightened. "Then we keep surviving." Logan nodded. Together. They didn't speak much after the signal was sent. Not out of fear, out of weight. The kind that settles between two people who've survived too much and suddenly glimpse something more than survival. But the next morning, something was off. Kavara moved slower. Her breathing was shallow. Not from wounds. Logan knew her well enough now. She didn't complain, but she staggered once while climbing the canyon slope, and that was enough. Logan dropped his scanner. "Okay, that's it. Sit down." "I'm fine," she growled. "No, you're stubborn. And you're pale." She didn't fight when he helped her back to camp. Later, inside the shelter, Logan powered up the old med scanner. He didn't like how quiet she was. Not stoic. Quiet like someone bracing for an answer they already knew. The scanner hummed, then beeped. One reading, then another. 2 pulses. One strong, one faint, one impossibly new. He stared at the screen, chest tightening. "Kavara." She didn't look at him, just lay still. "I suspected. Since the heat passed, my body didn't reset as usual." "And you didn't tell me? I thought it was nothing. Or that it wouldn't last. Hybrids don't exist. They shouldn't." Logan sat beside her, his voice low. "But this one does." Her fingers clenched the edge of the cot. "I didn't want to hope. I didn't know if you... Hey." He reached out, covered her hand. "Whatever this is, we face it together." She looked at him finally. Really looked. And for the first time since they met, Logan saw fear in her eyes. Not of pain, not of death, of vulnerability. "I'm not ready for this," she whispered. "I'm a warrior, not a mother." "You're also a survivor," he said gently. "You're more than what they made you. You already protected this life without knowing it." Kavara's lips trembled. "What if I can't protect it now?" "You can. We will." She let out a breath that sounded like she'd been holding it since the crash. The signal had been sent 3 days ago. And finally, they came. A Velcare cruiser broke atmosphere like a blade splitting clouds, sleek, black, marked with gold insignias of the High Command. Kavara stood outside the shelter, wind whipping her hair. Logan joined her, arms crossed, jaw tight. "Looks official," he muttered. "That's not just rescue," she said. "That's enforcement." When the shuttle touched down, 2 armored officers stepped out, one female, markings along her throat, status symbols. The other remained silent, masked. "Commander Kavara," the lead officer said, her tone stiff. "We received your distress signal. I'm no longer a commander. You hold rank until it is stripped officially." Logan tensed. Kavara stayed still. "I am resigning," she said. "Effective now." The officer's eyes flicked to Logan. "And this human?" Kavara stepped forward. "He is my bondmate. He remains with me. That is highly irregular. It is non-negotiable." A long pause. The officer's face didn't change. "Your status must be reviewed. A tribunal?" "No." Kavara's voice cut through the wind. "No trials, no delays. I have served, I have bled, and I have chosen." Logan watched her, back straight, scars shining in the morning light. Unafraid, unapologetic, beautiful. The officer sighed. "Then your rank is forfeit, your title revoked. You are no longer Velcare Guard." "So be it." They turned to leave, but Logan took a step forward. "Wait." Kavara glanced at him, puzzled. "Logan." He held her gaze. "You once said Velcare don't believe in symbols, but I think you just became one." "To who?" "To me. And maybe one day, to others." She blinked. Then slowly her hand found his. The officer stared at their joined hands. "You are not wrong," she said quietly. You fought for your choice. Few do. Then she saluted, not to Kavara's former title, but to who she had become. The shuttle left without her. They stood in silence, wind humming softly around them. You really weren't afraid of losing your jaw there? Kavara asked. Terrified, he said, but worth it. She smiled. You always say the right thing. I say what matters. She leaned in, pressing her forehead to his. Then say my name again. Velkaria. And this time, when he spoke it, the whole canyon heard. 2 weeks passed. The days stretched quiet and long, the kind of calm that felt earned, not given. Logan repaired what was left of the shelter, then expanded it, bit by bit. Kavara helped him, even when she grumbled about human inefficiency. But she never stopped showing up, never let him lift anything too heavy. Not anymore. She moved differently now, not slower, but softer, as if carrying something sacred inside her, because she was. One morning, she found him watching the sunrise. You always stare at the horizon, she said, voice low. Waiting for the future, he replied. And if it doesn't come? He turned to her. Then I make one. She sat beside him. You sound sure. I'm not. I just sound like I am. That made her smirk. They ate breakfast together, spiced roots and dry meat. Kavara always chewed like she was disappointed in everything edible. Logan pretended not to notice. Later, they walked the ridge, scouting new terrain. Logan pointed out mineral veins. Kavara pointed out cover spots. They worked like instinct now. At night, they talked. Sometimes about nothing, sometimes about everything. He told her about Earth, how the rain smelled after a storm, how cities never slept, how the sky was always too bright or too dark, but never quiet. She told him about the Velkare moons, how they shimmered in layers, how silence was a language there, how being chosen for war meant losing the right to dream. I think I've started dreaming again, she said one night, curled against him. About what? She paused. Names. Names? For us. For them. Logan's heart skipped. Got any favorites? One. He waited. She didn't say it aloud. She didn't have to. The next morning he woke up before her. She looked peaceful, untouched by the galaxy's chaos. It struck him, suddenly, painfully, how close they'd come to never having this. He kissed her forehead. She stirred but didn't wake. He stepped outside, let the sun warm his face, and smiled. Whatever came next, whether it was ships or storms, silence or stars, they'd face it together. And for the first time in his life, Logan wasn't waiting to be rescued. He had already found what mattered.